As a long-standing fan of the Turok franchise, I couldn't wait to get my hands on the Steam-released remaster of Turok 2, Seeds of Evil. Originally developed by Iguana Entertainment and published by Acclaim, Turok 2 Seeds of Evil, the much-anticipated sequel to Turok Dinosaur Hunter, was released on the Nintendo 64 console on October 21, 1998, then promptly ported to Windows PC the following year. The game was way ahead of its time in many areas, but due to the limited hardware of the time period, the title fell victim to an abundance of problems. Very short rendering distance and horrific frame rate dips drew much criticism for the game. Now, thanks to Nightdive Studios, we'll finally be able to see what this game has to offer, with many of those core issues now left firmly in the past. Adding a plethora of new options ranging from full key remapping for both keyboard and controller to incredibly intricate physics optimizations, you immediately feel the full control that modern hardware has allowed Nightdive Studios with this remaster before even loading into the game. Long-standing fans of the franchise will be pleased to see that they've even remembered to include the options to toggle between the PC and N64 versions of the soundtrack. A comparison between the N64 and remastered versions of the game show the immense difference in resolution and ambient lighting. Although I do personally prefer the darkness and almost gritty look of the original, I can't deny that the increased visibility and smooth frames indefinitely outweigh any complaints I may have and truly add a layer of depth to the gameplay. Finally, cutscenes have all been left looking fresh and revitalized after their facelift. The new textures seem to have covered many of the game's old wrinkles. Also worth mentioning is the new scrollable gallery that tracks your number of shots and amount collected per weapon and kills per enemy. A somewhat small but much appreciated addition. Turok 2's campaign features 6 levels in which you play as Joshua Fireseed, a descendant of his predecessor, Talset, as he journeys across the land of the lost to defeat the Primogen, an evil insect-like creature who has been imprisoned in his light ship by 5 energy totems, and is now attempting to destroy them to escape his confines, risking mankind in the process. You are guided along your path by an unnecessarily busty female alien, Adon, who has been sent by the Elders of the Lost Land, the Lazarus Concordance, to assist in defeating the Primogen and save mankind.
Thank you for your valor, Turok. For now, the Primogen is no more.
You can expect to explore the decimated port of Adia, the robust River of Souls, the sprawling foliage within the Death Marshes, the cavernous lair of the Blind Ones, the creeping, crawling hive of the Mantids, and of course, the final adventure into the Primogen's light ship as it flies in immediately after being used to film Starship Troopers. Jumping in, you will notice immediately the impact that modern hardware and a little elbow grease from the remastering team has had on this title. I must admit, being immediately greeted by such responsive and accurate movements was a bit unexpected, albeit a very pleasant surprise. This, along with the fluidity of the frame rates, is something to truly appreciate in a title that was so greatly impacted by such things originally. As a game that was highly praised for its intricate and particularly lengthy level designs, it was widely speculated that perhaps the game developers had made the levels a bit too deep. Deep enough, in fact, that players found themselves overwhelmed trying to find their current objective in the seemingly endless maze-like level designs. Nightdive Studios aptly responded to that very outcry with the addition of objective markers to objects within a reasonable distance of the player. Mission objectives have the player constantly searching for switches, captives to rescue, and destructibles that can become hidden within the densely populated levels. Although the icons don't make the puzzles much easier to traverse, it does remove a good bit of confusion from the primary objective, allowing the player to worry more about shooting and less about puzzles. On the topic of shooting, in the eyes of many, no game holds higher praises for its robust arsenal of unique and terrifying weaponry than Turok 2. Easily withstanding the test of time, Joshua Fireseed's plethora of firearms is nothing short of spectacular. The weaponry design follows a specific pattern of brutal simplicity mixed with space-aged alien technology, resulting in an intensely satisfying and truly captivating gun locker. Some of the more notable include the Warblade, which you'll use to quickly dice through enemies unfortunate enough to get within arm's distance of you. The Plasma Rifle for conveniently taking out dino baddies from a distance. The Firestorm Cannon for mowing down small armies quickly. And arguably, the single most iconic feature of Turok 2, the Cerebral Bore, for when you really need to fire a heat-seeking drill missile at your enemy's head that bores itself into their skull before exploding. We all know how often we find ourselves in that situation. What would such a large arsenal of weapons be worth without a plethora of enemies to fill with holes? Advanced enemy AI was one of the major conversation points of the early reviewers of Turok 2, and it's easy to see why. In a time where enemies would blindly run suicidally towards the player in most titles, to see your foes take cover behind objects to fire back at you was truly groundbreaking. Along your journey to the Primogen, you'll be pitted against many familiar faces of the franchise as they make their triumphant return to the sequel, fighting, slamming, leaping, and exploding in a truly timeless manner. Many new enemies emerge in various shapes and sizes, from the reptilian dinosaur hybrid to the intelligent insect breed of mantids, and even some in-game orc warriors. The mini pests of the game can become quite troublesome and really provide more of a distinct nuisance to the player rather than a real threat. It's within the ammo wasted to thoroughly extinguish them that their true danger begins to manifest. Other enemies just simply provide unavoidable damage and really begin to get quite annoying at times, but can definitely be dealt with if approached accordingly. The death animations and gore still feel unique and add a great deal to the overall experience. Enemies can often be seen crying out in pain before death, adding a light sense of immersion to the brutality. The developers did a fantastic job hyping up big boss fights to get your adrenaline pumping before throwing you right into the midst of a brutal fight to the death. The boss mechanics seem to be fairly straightforward and often just require continuous shots to a targeted area of the boss's body. Difficulty is largely dependent on your supply of ammunition prior to entering the boss encounter, and can greatly impact the pace of the fight. Overall, I had an amazing time playing back through this game. The nostalgia alone for me was enough for a good bit of enjoyment, but the gameplay was truly fun and addictive enough for a complete stranger to the franchise to feel right at home. I would highly recommend giving this title a try for anyone that feels up to the challenge. That is Turok 2, Seeds of Evil. If you like this video, leave a comment and let me know what you want to see reviewed. I'm Chris Todd with Gaming Amazing, and thanks for watching. I'd like to offer my thanks to Nightdive Studios for allowing me pre-release access to this game to allow me to have this review to you on the day of release. Please support them by checking this game out on Steam. It's available now, worldwide.
Chris Todd, the game reviewer. Can I do your intro? Chris Todd, game reviews. Bop, bop. Wait, the ending has to be. There you go. You're welcome.